Hey guys, welcome to Cold Film Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you love but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight, at the end of Mercury's journey, the dragon shall dance through the hoop of Jupiter, and if at that moment a monkey rides a jaguar and a tiger feasts on a nubile, the order of the universe will be such that an evil one will reign supreme over eternity. If only there was someone who could save us.
Kabukiman Sanjo.
So let's just start the show.
Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex? Klopex. Klopex.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us this week. Please do us a favor and leave us a review on iTunes. We'll give you a shout out at the end of the episode. We got one for you this week, so we'll have that at the end of this episode. Also, just make sure that you tell a friend about us. Tell if they like cult films, even if they don't like cult films. Fuck them. Tell them.
Fuck them.
Not everyone's perfect.
Yeah. You know
what I mean?
what?
But we can try to make them perfect.
Well, we're not recording on our usual night. We're recording on a weekend night, and we've all had a couple of drinks, so fuck it.
Is it a weekend?
Yeah.
What day is this?
Friday kind of technically
It's the
is
end
the
of the week.
beginning of a weekend.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
It is the preliminary weekend.
So leave us a review, tell a friend, and go to our website, www.cultfilmandreview.com. Check out all the cool stuff we have on there.
Look at you dropping the website. Good job.
I like to do that. If you're wondering who's talking, I am joined by Kyle Smith.
Hello.
Chris Willenbrecht.
What's up?
And Michael Salustio.
welcome.
Ooh.
This week, we're talking about Sergeant Kabukiman, N.Y.P.D. It's a trauma film. It was directed by Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hurds. Came out in 1990. Had a budget of $1.5 million. Actually, their highest budgeted movie, I think, still to date. It was filmed in New York and New Jersey. It has a rating of R or PG-13.
Depending on...
It was released originally in PG-13. We'll get into that in a little bit.
All right.
And it has a Rotten Tomatoes rating of 56% from users.
What's the...
what's the...
There is no critics on that.
So that's a 0.
Critics are like, are you fucking kidding
I thought
me?
Siskel and Ebert did a review on this movie.
They did. I don't think it was posted on there, though.
No percentage rating.
So if you're not sure what this movie's about, it's about a not-so-streetwise New York police officer who transforms into the world's most unusual superhero, basically.
What?
About right.
Basically.
Why is it always basically after you give the synopsis?
Yeah.
That is the synopsis.
Not basically that you just gave a fact.
It's either basically or a pretty much.
So this was my pick.
Cody, why'd you pick this film?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Kyle. No, I picked this film because I wanted to go back to trauma. I think we were all trying to pick, like, hardcore cult films, right? Like this month, right, Mike?
Are you insinuating that this is not a hardcore
No,
cult
I
film?
am insinuating that this is a hardcore cult film.
Good job, Cody. It's only the third time we've come back to a trauma film, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
I know. I almost forgot about Class of
Yeah,
Nukem
I
High.
forgot about them.
And I'm a trauma fan, and I wanted to give you guys something that was, I figured probably the most mainstream trauma film out there, which is also one of the most popular trauma films out there, too.
Mike takes a deep breath on that one.
We will definitely get to that.
So has anyone not seen this movie before? Or has everyone seen this movie?
I've never seen it before.
Kyle's never seen it before?
I have not seen it before.
I am surprised you've never seen it before, Chris and Mike.
Guess what? I have seen this film before.
You had seen this before?
I had seen this film before. I saw it as a child. I remember almost every goddamn minute of this film.
You didn't like it as a kid?
We'll get to that.
Well, I mean, what do you mean we'll get to that? We're there.
Well, here's the thing. I knew who Sergeant Kabukiman was because I've watched other trauma films.
Yes.
And
He's made many appearances.
He's one of the more famous characters that came from the trauma universe.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen this movie start to finish.
Yeah, he's been in other movies. The Toxic Avenger, Citizen Toxie, he was in, had a big role in that. He did a lot for their TV channel that they had going on, I think on public access
The
or whatever.
Toxic Crusaders,
Well,
the animated show. I
They were
believe
actually
he shows on there.
going to make an animated show of this.
No, they were going to make an animated show of this, and it didn't happen because basically what happened was Michael Hurds and Lloyd Kaufman and the producer of this, it was after part 1 of Toxic Avenger came out. It was a huge success. Then they were filming over in Japan for part 2. And this was an idea Lloyd Kaufman had and kind of pitched as a joke. And then they got $1.5 million to make it. So
Yeah, they would loved the idea and wanted to come in as investors.
yeah, because they saw a cartoon series out of it. They saw like an actual hero. The problem was Lloyd wanted to make it a trauma film. They did not. And Michael Hertz was actually on their side too and wanted a more like kid-friendly, turn it into a cartoon movie. But and there was arguments about this, in pre-production and actually on set and stuff like that. But I think what you get is an actually pretty tame trauma film out of it, in my opinion.
So Kabukiman was never a toxic crusader.
That I can remember, because this would have been around the time that Crusaders was out.
You're absolutely right. I that's why I thought that. I actually used to think that Toxic Crusader was only put out because this movie came out.
No, it was because of Toxic Avenger.
Cool. All right.
And its success.
We'll get to that. Go on.
We're going to get to everything, apparently.
But no, it's probably, I would say, the second most famous character in the Troma universe besides, Toxie.
Where does this film, in your opinion, Cody, where does it rank in the Troma films? Like, if you were to say, number 1 this, number 2 that.
I would say it's number 2 as far as characters go. It's
well, I mean,
Toxie.
like individual films.
Individual
there's
films?
a
That's
ton
what I
of-
mean.
Wait, are we getting to the rating?
No. I'm just getting his. Cody is resident Traumaville, so I just want to know, in his opinion, if he was to rank the films, where does Sergeant Kabukiman NYPD fall?
I would like in the top 5. I would
Okay.
say top 5 Troma films. Honestly,
Okay. All right.
It is a staple of trauma.
It is definitely a staple of Troma. Not only the character, but like I said, this is probably one of they're probably the second most popular series.
Yeah.
Which isn't really a series because it only had one movie. There was supposed to be a sequel.
That would definitely not be a series at all.
But it's a
It's a trauma mascot.
Yeah.
I mean, how many more are there really? I mean, Class of Nukem High, I guess you could say like the
Squirrel.
Yeah, that's probably like the only other one I could really think of that is a major
What
trauma
about
character.
Romeo and Juliet?
Great film.
Yeah, but who from that movie really went on to be successful as like a toxic
And
Avenger?
Romeo.
This actually.
Well, no, it would be Juliet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There was a huge argument with that film and this film because they came out the same year. Like this film was filmed in 1990, but it wasn't released in theaters until 1996.
Let's
when
talk
Romeo
about
and
that.
Juliet came
We'll
out.
get to that, guys.
Let's talk about that.
At some point, we'll get to all of these questions and
what
more.
I just wanted to say, because I thought like the whole time I was watching this movie, I thought this was an early 80s movie.
Me too.
It's 90. It does not feel like 1990.
No, it feels
to
like
me.
early 80s as fuck.
No, man, it's 1990.
It is.
Oh, I know what the facts are, but I'm telling you what. I'm telling you what the film said.
Well, it said 1990 all over it.
Oh no, it didn't.
I did not assume it was 90. I was surprised to
I
find that
thought
out.
it was like 86, 88, something like
Well, that's
that.
not early 80s.
Yeah.
It's
86 is a
Earlier
good-
than 90.
It's
90.
mid
If
80s.
you go back and watch television shows that were like on in the 80s to the 90s, like Cheers, or I think like Roseanne was that way too. It was like 89 for Roseanne, if I'm not mistaken. Someone will probably correct me. But like if you look at those and you see the switch happen to the 90s, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
Seinfeld, same thing. Seinfeld
No,
was 89.
there's
to
a
90.
there's a clear switch in all of those
No,
shows.
there's not.
Yes, there
It
is.
was all the same shit, bro. It was a year later.
Is
No,
it when
there's
this-
a clear switch in like the way it's shot, the way like the writing is, all that stuff. There's a clear. There is a clear fucking dividing
It's
line.
2016 and Troma has not changed, or 2017 now. Oh, Jesus Christ, where am I at? Then Troma has not changed the way they film.
Is it when the Simpsons animation stopped looking like a freak show?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember the old
Yeah.
No, it still
original
did it in 90.
Simpsons?
It still did it in 90.
Did they?
That's like,
No,
yeah.
80 like late 80s was like the first season. The second season definitely took more of like kind of a polish.
What I
look.
love is that this was supposed to be a joke, and you guys got real serious with that shit. Real fucking serious with it.
Mike, we've said this time and time again. You're just too dry. You're like your jokes are like the Sahara Desert. You need to throw some water on them.
You know what, Kyle? We'll get to that.
You know what, guys? Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Sergeant Kabukiman, NYPD.
More or
Or
Well,
any.
any at all?
We'll get to it.
chopsticks. It was supposed to use knives and forks.
You clumsy carnival cop! What are you gonna do to me? A poor defenseless woman, huh? A woman alone! Arrgh! And besides, that stripe theft looks ridiculous!
Sound like my ex-wife.
So a lot of first-time viewings for you guys. Taking this one, oddly enough, didn't take place in Tromaville. This one takes place in New York, if you can't tell from the title.
I did like the reference. We need to get this stuff to Tromaville, though.
There's
Happened once in the film.
There's a couple other references to Tromaville.
Yeah, they do. There's like spray painted on a can or some shit.
They're
On
subtle.
A can.
Well,
On a
when
can,
when
like
the guy
like a garbage can.
no, when the guy gets like covered in like wasabi sauce or whatever,
That's
it says
true. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
it says Trauma-san or something like that.
So the film opens up with a homeless guy saying he's going to kill you, and then it goes to Yuppie is doing coke out in the open on a fucking Mercedes.
Hey, you know what? 1980s,
1990,
Wall Street. Everybody knows what was going on.
Yeah,
1980s. Again, another reason why the film felt like the 80s.
It did,
True.
right?
Yeah.
That was a very 80s theme to do in
It was.
1990.
It was an incredibly 80s thing.
1?
Yeah.
90.
90?
That's called insider trading.
Let's do some blow.
And then we cut up to Red Brant, who is like the henchman for Stewart, the evil guy.
Yes.
Who's going to be the ultimate evil. And he it starts with him stabbing some kids.
Yes.
Oh
Right
yeah,
off
he
the bat.
just
Well-
shows up and it just him with a knife laughing maniacally and a little kid, and then you hear a stab sound.
And what's hilarious is like their parents are just banging in the bedroom.
Yeah, like
not watching them.
With the current Kabuki man.
Yes.
That was the current Kabuki
He was the
man.
current one that was supposed to receive the
Yes.
Kabuki powers.
He was supposed to go that
But
night to the
he
theater.
obviously did not learn how to use those Kabuki powers in the bedroom.
He did not have the Kabuki powers at this time. They were not transferred to him.
Well, you know what? That girl was missing out before she died.
That's what I was saying.
Missed out.
Really missed
She
out.
could have had a really good.
She could have
Really
pushed
good.
out a Kabuki baby.
Instead, she got pushed out a window.
She got pushed out a window. Yeah.
Sure did.
She got, Trauma loves to throw people out windows.
Yeah,
and
totally.
that same shot. It's always the same shot.
That above.
Looking up and they're flipping over the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she gets thrown. Yeah, so the guy who's supposed to be Kabuki Man gets stabbed in the gut, which is pretty good. I like that scene. As far as like, it got me a little bit. I was like, oh, that hurts.
You start crying?
I did. I was like, that's not Kabuki Man.
I cried. I cried at one moment in this film.
When it started?
Yeah, the opening credits.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for stepping all over my joke. Good job.
You know what? Just know you too well. There you go with that.
We'll get back to that. Cody.
And then, and then we get to meet our hero, which is Harry Griswold, which is actually named after one of the writers, janitors from high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it named after National Lamp?
Clark
No.
Griswold. I kept thinking that the whole time.
It's a long lost cousin.
And he's just a bumbling cop in New York City who
Loves himself some sauerkraut dogs.
loves the sauerkraut dogs and gets his dick grabbed by a hooker. This is, again, another movie where we're in seedy New York.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah.
in the seedy New York.
This is the month of seedy New York.
Yeah. And then they do hit on a very important trauma theme, which is basically corporations and how they fuck with shit.
Yeah.
Where Stewart basically says, it's up to the corporations to bring you art and culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's, so I guess was like as much theme as they wanted to put in the movie, because that's like the last you
But
get
it's
of it.
true. Remember the Ann Geddes thing going on with Target with the babies?
No.
Sitting in like pumpkins and melons and...
What?
Wow, you motherfuckers don't know shit about art.
How-
God, you
is this
motherfuckers don't know shit about
I'm
Target.
just joking. No. Ann Geddes was an artist that was super popular like mid 2000s, and she would take
just put babies in things?
She would put babies into like pumpkins and shit, and like take photographs of them, like black and white photographs, and then like Target bought them, and like they went wildfire. Like you would go into houses and you would see these like big like murals.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking
I do.
about.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I do recall that.
I was like, I will say
Where were
this.
you going with that
Yeah.
point?
He said that corporations bring you art.
Oh, okay. Look at that full
And I
circle.
said Target. Okay.
Yeah,
There it
nice.
is. Full
I like
circle.
that.
One of the things that I will say that I enjoy about Trauma is how they use their budget. And they just will put everything on fucking cardboard. Like all the Japanese like paintings of like the tiger eating the nubile and all that stuff was on cardboard. I don't know if anyone picked up on that.
No, I didn't.
No, I was
all
I
on
was
cardboard.
I was more or less in a daze looking at my watch.
Waiting for the film to end.
Wait, how long is this?
2 hours.
What didn't you like?
We'll get
2
to that.
hours.
What do you mean
get
we'll
to
get to
that.
that? We're there.
This film is, it could have been an hour less.
Yeah, I agree.
And
with
by that, it could have been a 30-minute movie. And I would have been happy with that. It's like a 2-hour long film, though.
That's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It did not feel that. It did not
Man,
feel
this
that
fucking
short.
film felt long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does take a while to actually get to the point where he becomes full-on Kabuki man.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot building up to
There's
that.
a lot of character development that he needs to go through, like training
Yeah.
Is that what
and
that is?
being a clown.
Well, why don't we talk about how he actually gets there?
What gets
Okay.
well? So first off, what happens is that the Kabuki master, who does have these powers, obviously his granddaughter is there. Obviously,
Lotus.
A lot of obvious things in this movie.
who wants to be the Kabuki man. You could tell, but
It's a classic Ant-Man. Classic Ant-Man story.
Exactly.
she can't be the. She can't. But where do you think Marvel got their shit from?
Yeah.
Is what I've been saying.
Come on. For years,
since we've
everybody
been
knows
doing
that.
this.
Everybody knows that.
So basically, she wants to be the Kabuki man because the chosen one has not shown up yet because Rembrandt killed him for some reason, and I don't even think it's fully explained because he's like, I'm supposed to go to dinner with the girl he's interested in, and then he just ends up going to the.
He goes to the thing because the dude at the beginning gets killed. They get one lead, which is the tickets to the
you're right.
Kabuki thing, and his captain sends him to the play to see if he can find any evidence.
So basically, the bad guys show up, they shoot up the theater. People are applauding because they think, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
they
and
think it's the art.
The news is like commentating on it, like, "Oh my God,
Well,
the
that
guns
wasn't
are
the-
so real."
that wasn't the news. Did you get that reference?
That was the rich and famous.
That was the Lifestyles of the Rich and
Lifestyles of the
Famous. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say something.
Media.
That scene made me remember probably a fake news story that I heard. That some people were riding the Matterhorn at Disneyland, and that it derailed in the 70s. And when they found the bodies, they were smiling because they thought it was part of the Matterhorn.
They thought that was part of the ride.
They thought it was part of
Well,
the
that's
ride.
a fake article, right?
That is definitely.
It
a
might have
vague
been
article.
a real article.
No.
I don't remember. But all
you
I'm
just
saying
derailed
is,
this conversation with
no,
that.
it is true though. When I did theater way back in the days,
And
of
people
yore.
were shot and killed.
No. One of the things they used to tell you was not to point the gun at the audience because then it becomes real.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Like if you're doing a scene where you're like doing a monologue,
They're
or
like,
something, you have a gun in your hand.
just saying, if you want to kill the actor that got your part, just don't point the gun at the audience.
No. One of the things is just don't point the. It's like breaking the fourth wall.
Sure.
Say to speak. You know what I mean? Like
Say to speak.
say
to speak.
it.
Say to speak it. If you point it,
What the fuck is happening tonight?
I don't know.
I don't
You
know.
picked Sergeant Kabuki,
I
man.
don't know.
You're welcome.
I feel like we keep trying to move forward and then just halt.
Anyways, made me think about that. I can understand why the people in the audience would have thought that was part of the show. Is what I'm trying to
Okay.
say.
Which leads to a bunch of great jokes. You get him opening the peanuts and the lady next to him being upset, and then she gets shot in the head.
That was a bag of chips, but sure.
Whatever.
Whatever.
It's a snack
I'm going
of
to
some
correct
sort.
Cody this whole episode.
Oh, this will be a
on
great
his
one.
favorite
Yeah.
movie.
This is gonna be a great
And
episode.
then we get our first dick shot, which was when you know you're really in a trauma film.
Somebody gets shot in the dick.
Someone gets shot in the dick.
Every time.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I felt like all the gunshots like actually looked good in this movie.
Because they had a budget in this one.
Yeah.
That's exactly why. They had a budget in this one. And the acting's good in this one, too. For a trauma film, it's good before anyone jumps in on this one.
We'll get to
Well,
that.
let's get to the acting because I do have something I want to bring up about that
Yeah,
later.
go ahead.
No, okay.
No.
So now, all right.
What else are we talking about? It's gone all over
All right,
the place.
so we brought up like in previous episodes the style of acting that's in Hen and Lauder films, also the
Right.
style of acting that's in John Waters films.
Right.
Do you see a similarity in trauma films?
Absolutely, 100%. But here's the thing: the question I was asking for Basket Case, and specifically John Waters films. John Waters films, I know for a fact, based on doing even just a tactile amount of research, the people that were in those films were just kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that they were artists, right? Hen and Lauder, I wasn't so sure. Trauma, abso-fucking-lutely they're fucking acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they're
but-
not real people. Like he's like, let's take this guy off the street, and maybe he's like fucking, maybe he's crazy and
So
wacky.
Waters started before Troma and Henenlotter. Do you think that either of those directors were influenced by that?
I wouldn't see any reason why they wouldn't be.
Okay. I just was thinking that
How much so, I have no idea. But
I definitely think, I think that Kaufman was definitely, if not Waters, some sort of trash films.
Or like Three Stooges.
That too, because all the characters are wacky and cartoony, but super violent. Like is usually the MO of Troma.
Like Waters didn't invent trash film either.
No,
but he's probably the most well known.
I mean, he did.
He's the one to take it to the next level, I would say.
Hairspray.
Hairspray is more commercial one, but
I'm just joking. Go on.
But I would say he you know what I mean. He's the one who brought it to the forefront and made it popular. Yeah,
I just want to know if you felt that there was any influence, like perhaps these directors were influenced by that style of film making and that style of character.
I would agree.
Yeah, but in Henelotter's thing, we also discussed that, and I think it's the same for probably a lot of these directors, is that all of his characters are probably really influenced by the world around him and what he grew up in. So a lot of those characters he saw day to day on the streets. John Waters, like growing, like befriending this group of artists, and like they're kind of out of wacky personalities. Lloyd Kaufman and them, they're all from the city or Jersey and stuff, so they probably grew up seeing the same sort of characters. So
it's like an East Coast thing.
It's more of a. I think Kaufman and them, they take it to more of a hyper reality version of it, whereas Waters and Hennelotter kind of keep more of a realistic and have. All those characters, as wacky and crazy they have a realistic feel to them.
Well, even Street Trash, for that matter, is a very East Coast, New York film. You don't see a lot. You know what? Now that I think about it, you're right. You don't see a lot of really West Coast trash films.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there are some. Maybe Russ Myers or something.
Right.
That was exploitation.
It's not a common theme that.
Right. I mean, because your art's always influenced from your surroundings and where you grew up.
Well, you imagine too. I mean, with John Waters in Maryland and Henenlotter in New York. If I don't know if Henenlotter did the same thing as John Waters did, where he's like playing his movie on a 2-reel. Like,
not sure. I'm
like
really
touring
not sure.
it throughout whatever the East Coast. I imagine it was pretty hard to get a hold of those films at the time that they were of their technical release. If you were living in California or something like that.
But also the difference I feel like with Troma, especially like in this era of Troma, is that they kind of focused on superheroes.
Yes, I agree.
It's a very it's kind of like an early superhero idea.
Yeah,
and you wonder also, another thing I've always wondered about Troma films is if they actually did get some influence off the X-Men, because there is a lot of mutation stuff that goes around.
Well, it has to do with toxic waste in New Jersey,
and the X-Men existed.
Probably has more to do with environments that they kind of grow up in.
I agree because I used to. What I'm saying is, like, the X-Men did come out before I think Troma did a film, right?
What do you mean, X-Men? The comics?
Like, they were like
Came out in 61,
right?
dude.
So they absolutely had to.
Way fucking before.
So I wonder if there was some influence.
I'm sure that. I mean, just looking at Troma, there's obviously comic book influence to their films.
Like 100%. I agree. And I think it definitely shows to the fact that one of the most popular comic book films that have ever been made to this date, Guardians of the Galaxy, is made by James Gunn, who is a Troma fucking
alumni.
I mean, he did Romeo and Juliet. He wrote it. I mean,
with Sergeant Kabukiman too, it's such an just a fucking weird character. Like, where else would that come from but Troma, as far as like a character?
Do we have some history on where
I don't know about that.
It was a joke.
I don't know about that.
Came up with.
To be perfectly honest, Cody, I'm going to disagree. Because like that concept already existed in the 80s with is it Ninja 3, The Possession?
Yeah,
it's where a woman becomes possessed by the spirit of a ninjutsu master or whatever.
Maybe I'm incorrect, but was this not based off the Madame Butterfly story? I thought I read that somewhere, or in the credits it actually says that it is based on that story.
It could absolutely be.
I didn't do any research.
I have no idea what Madame Butterfly is.
Here's something I will say about the Japanese and American culture that I actually do love is that if there are any two cultures that love to borrow from each other and are super cool with each one doing that, it's those. Like, if you talk about, like, American films have really benefited off of, like, kung fu film. I mean, that's Chinese, but, like, we've benefited a lot off of Japanese films.
Yeah.
Japanese horror and
like
stuff,
like, even though spaghetti westerns are technically Italian, they're also somewhat quintessentially American because they deal with the American West. And if you watch certain animes like Cowboy Bebop, purely based in, like, the American ideal of, like, lone, like...
No, that's more of a spaghetti western theme.
It is a very spaghetti western theme, but at the same time, like, it is something
that's based off American.
It's an American idea.
What the Italians thought the Old West was like.
Right.
Yeah.
We like Japanese culture and American culture. We love to borrow off each other.
We do it all
and
the time.
we seem to have
I think
like
Asian
no
culture in
problem doing
general.
it, and we actually consume it equally. I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine if you go to Japan, their love for American themes is the same as our love for Japanese themes, and there's probably a good respect between those two things.
I think so.
Well, I think if this movie came out in the early 2000s, you would have a different perspective on it, just because of, like, Tokyo Shock and things like that. Like, this would be in the same realm as that, maybe a little less than that. Like, those are way more over the top of blood and stuff like that. But
well, yeah, this is more of a comedy first.
Yeah, but those movies have a lot of comedy elements mixed with like horror elements into it too.
Yeah.
So I can definitely get that vibe from this movie too, which I don't know if that was an influence from the Japanese side or if that somehow influenced the Japanese side. Because Toxic Avenger was a huge movie in Japan. Huge.
I think this movie definitely is influenced from the Japanese side. Like the influence is the evidence for influence is there.
Well, let me ask this: we talked a little bit about this on Rikio, which is a manga based, right?
It was based on a manga, yeah.
Do you feel like this has a lot of those elements to it, like especially with the transformations and the monsters and all this stuff? Like,
it does borrow from, like, Japanese themes that exist within their. Not is talking about, like, the weird transformations, like the elaborate transformations. It's not like the Wolfman that, like, you know, he grows some hair or whatever. This is like a fucking goddamn balloon coming out and transforming him in a cocoon.
I think it does. I think it borrows it, but it's more or less in more of a mocking tone, I would say, or more of a comedic tone to it. Like, not exactly like straight. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take elements of this concept and then add my own kind of humor and style to it.
Anyone have a favorite scene? I want to throw that out there because I want to see what you guys thought was some of the best scenes or maybe the best scene in this movie. Not all at once.
Only because it reminded me of something. But the flying scene
with all the wires?
Yeah, it reminded me of the Superman flying scene in the Richard Donner film.
Yeah.
Except really, really, really poorly done.
I think that's what it was supposed to remind you of.
I absolutely think that they were trying to mock to some extent, but I kind of laughed at it. Yeah.
I think I have a couple of favorite scenes in this movie. First and foremost, when he first, I think they're in Central Park,
right.
and the whole fight scene breaks out with the goons, and you get to kind of see all of his powers that he possesses. I really liked that scene. I love
the chopsticks coming out.
Yeah, the chopsticks, like
the sword. The
oh my god, that like the creativity that they on the budget that they had was really good in that scene. I also really enjoyed the scene at the end when the villain transforms. I thought that was really cool.
The fucking dick caterpillar is hilarious to me.
It's just like so bizarre. And there was one. Sorry, go ahead. Next person. I'll come back. I'll come back when I remember it. But
I mean, the one scene I appreciated, I would say, was towards the end when they're waiting for all of the
credits rolled.
All of the no, when they're waiting for all the things to come in a line for the dragon to go through the thing, the set to dance through Saturn or whatever.
Hey.
When the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, well, how are they going to do a monkey riding a Jaguar and the fucking monkey is inside of a Jaguar car trying to drive it? I'm like,
I want to say, on top of that,
smart
I also
and funny.
fucking loved that they realized that they couldn't do a dragon going through a fucking hoop. And then they were just like, yeah, see it? And then they had put like
arrows. You don't see it? Here, I'll
arrows.
point to it.
Look, check it out. It's a constellation. They're going through. You know how it is.
It's like shitty animation,
Yeah.
like
It was
over
just-
like the New York skyline.
That was probably the most solid joke. That in the Jaguar.
Yeah, the
with
monkey Jaguar made me
I thought
fucking
was
chuckle
hysterical.
for sure.
That's
It just hit me. I know what the other one was. The car chase scene. I loved the car chase scene when he's on the unicycle and the car is coming at him, and then it hits and flips over and explodes and crashes into the fucking like dry cleaning place, like that.
Which is a staple now in trauma films.
Yeah, it's been used a few times.
Yeah, it's been.
I love that scene.
No, the whole car chase is like 20 minutes of the film. I feel
It's
like.
a long. It's one of
the longest car chases I've ever fucking seen.
I don't really remember much from it. Sorry.
Oh, one thing I love that Trauma does is like there's always some extravagant action that's happening in every shot. Like if somebody gets knocked over, they get knocked over into a pile of shit, or
Or they fly through a window.
Yeah, they fly through a window, or when they get hit, they fly over a fence and do a flip. It's always very acrobatic.
Or get caught on fire, like when the
Yeah, they set a dude on fire in this movie.
Did anyone notice he was wearing a Richard Nixon mask? Because I sure did.
No, I didn't.
No,
I did not
know.
notice.
It was like a black dude who gets caught on fire, and then you look at his face, like, why is he white? And then you realize, oh my god, it's a Richard Nixon mask.
It's a little late for that joke, isn't it? A little late.
90? I don't know.
No, I think it was just a way to hide his face.
20 years later. Okay.
I don't know. If I was getting set on fire, I wouldn't want a latex mask on my face.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Melt your
Obviously,
face
you don't.
off.
Obviously, you don't know how to get lit on fire, Chris.
I don't want to know.
No, and favorite characters. Anyone got any favorite characters in this one?
Yeah, Lotus was really good.
Lotus is really
I liked
good.
Lotus. I also liked
Rembrandt's my favorite.
Loved Rembrandt. I loved. Why can't I think of his name? The main villain.
Stewart.
Stewart. I loved Stewart. He was a great villain.
He was.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I'd probably go
I
with
had
Stewart.
my favorite character by far, best actor in the film, Monkey Butler. Monkey Butler.
What was his real name? What was his name?
Solid actor.
How funny was it that the monkey had lines?
Yeah.
He had lines.
He even talked. He was
Yes.
like, give me that fucking popcorn or whatever the fuck he was eating.
Oh, that's
I want to eat this popcorn.
Can I just say it's another thing I loved about this movie, and that might speak on the budget, is all the animals that were used in this film.
Lions. Not lions. Tigers.
Yeah, there
I'm
was a
sorry.
lion.
There was a lion?
There was a lion, a
jaguar,
tiger.
A jaguar. Like
a llama,
a llama.
A monkey.
Lemur.
Lemur.
That's
Lima.
right.
Well, Lima.
A
is cousin.
baboon. A baboon was in this.
There was?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the monkey
Oh,
butler
yeah,
was a
he's-
baboon, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's it, probably. Maybe a dog. Was there a dog in this?
Yeah, there was a dog
Sure.
Maybe in the background.
somewhere.
Maybe a cat somewhere in the background.
Yeah, digging in the trash cans
Little
in the
stray
alleyway.
cat. Stray cat. I don't know.
I don't know. There's a lot of characters enjoying this. I love the police chief, the stereotypical police chief.
I wanted more from him.
Yeah.
So did I.
I did not feel like he was enough of an angry police
Yes,
chief.
it's not enough.
He was he
but
liked Harry.
The two jerk cops, which is great.
I didn't like those. They
Oh,
annoyed
so
me. The dude
fucking
eating
funny.
the fucking powdered donut the whole time.
That's
like,
a staple.
give me
I
a
love
break.
that guy.
That's a trauma staple.
Yeah,
his
it is.
name?
It is
I
a
can't
trauma.
remember his
that
name.
guy.
He
but I
passed
do-
away just
Yeah,
recently,
he
like
did.
2 years ago.
It's sad that we don't know his name right
Yeah,
now.
we can't think of it. But
But
that's okay.
yeah, no, he was good.
Yeah.
Oh, I also love the staple of trauma films, the terrible continuity. Like, for example, when they're talking and the Statue of Liberty is in the background, and like every shot, there's like the same people but in different positions, and then like you would see as the same person in the background, and then the next wide shot, that person would come walking into frame and across the frame. It's like they didn't even give a shit, you know? They're just like, whatever, we got to get this done. Just fill the background with people.
It's funny when you say that, too, because like they got, what is it, 1.5 million?
Yep.
1.5 million. You gotta imagine they were like, what the fuck are we going to do with all this money?
I feel that way.
I know what they did with it.
Yeah.
You spent the money
They
on
fucking
wires.
flipped a car and blew it up.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
like, let's do that.
And like drove through
they
the
had
streets of New
fucking
York
tanks.
City.
They had fucking tanks in Toxie.
Yeah, that's true.
Where the fuck?
They know how to get shit done at
They do,
Trauma.
definitely.
They really
for
do.
sure.
They really do.
For
Let's
sure.
take a break, and when we come back, we'll actually talk more about this movie.
Well, actually,
We'll get to that.
Okay, I'm wearing a dress. First I'm kissed by a guy, now I'm wearing a dress. Fine.
Let's talk about some of the technical aspects. I like the way Troma shoots stuff. I know that you guys might not be the biggest fan of it, but
You mean the way that somebody shoots a Christmas family get together?
That is not true.
Oh my!
not even true.
I'm gonna admit that's a little fucking harsh.
I like the way Troma shoot. I feel,
they shoot around with their budget.
Yeah, they
and it's
totally
creative.
make it work, and it is corny, and sometimes it doesn't always match up correctly, but you accept it for what it is.
They do a lot of tricks in this movie too. They use this cape a lot for the flying to hide.
They do.
To hide whatever's propping them up.
Yeah,
for flying. You do see the wires in a lot of the flying scenes. They don't do a good job of hiding
But you
that.
know what? If you
that's
look
okay.
really close, you can see the wires in Star Wars. So
That's true.
You know what?
You got a point.
Step ahead.
Deal with what you're given.
Step ahead 10 years later.
You don't really have to look hard in
No.
a Troma film, though. But that's part of the charm. I feel like is
No, it
just
is. It is.
knowing that it
If
is.
Let's be honest. If you saw a really polished Troma film,
This
it
is a
wouldn't-
really polished Troma film.
This
That's
is
the thing.
about as polished as it gets.
Yeah.
Right? But if you saw like a really like let's put $200 million into a fucking Troma film, you'd be like, what the fuck is this shit?
Maybe the best dick jokes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I just
solid CG dick jokes.
Or would they be the most expensive dick jokes
Yeah.
you've ever seen?
Well, that's why they'd be the best.
It wouldn't have the charm. I mean,
I agree.
Maybe you would have gotten like, and I'm not talking shit on this film, but maybe it would have been more of like a Slither, you know, like Slither is a polished Troma idea essentially,
which is like better than every Troma film that's ever been come out.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but that's
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, that's your opinion.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
One of the things too that is abundantly clear in this movie, and it's like I think this is where most of the budget went, was the ADR work.
No.
You don't think that's where most of the budget went?
Hell no.
Oh
You
my
know
god,
what?
it's
Honestly,
everywhere in this movie.
Can I just say something? Watching the 3 Troma films that we've watched, including this one that I've watched again, I can't tell what ADR begins and where it ends anymore. I can't tell. I have no fucking idea. I don't even pay attention anymore.
The idea of ADR is to like sync dialogue up with dialogue that wasn't recorded on set, but they don't give a fuck if the mouth is moving or not. They just throw it right in there.
For a second there, I thought Chris
done.
was just trying to explain to me what ADR was, like I didn't know what it was.
I'm trying to explain what Troma ADR is.
Yeah, it's a very different thing.
Different animal.
Very
animal.
different. Different beast.
We need dialogue here. Who cares if they're not talking?
Well, in this one too, I enjoyed the special effects in this one a lot more too, because you can tell they use that with like the transformation scene when he becomes like full on Kabukiman with the cape around him spinning and like his head bleeding, the white makeup, and
Which may have been shot all in a kid's balloon house. May have been shot in one of those bouncy houses.
It's actually a pesticide tent that they shot inside the house.
Yeah, right, totally.
Speaking of spinning, how about those transitions, guys? the
Batman-
Kabuki Man face coming up into the filling the
60
screen and then going back. The spinning, the. I think they even make a joke in the film. They're like, "That was a great dissolve," and it's
They
like
do.
right after the last scene dissolves into the next scene.
They do like the '60s Batman dissolves. Like, like
Those are probably like my favorite part of the film.
The dissolves and the transitions.
Just like the jokes that they make about
superhero movies.
The self-aware conscious, about like, we don't have a budget, like what are we gonna, but they do have a budget, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But not a Batman budget. Let's be
No.
honest. Because we know that Batman comes out before this film because Kabuki Man
Does the
makes
Batman
a very
reference.
clear Batman reference.
But I mean, was 1.5 million really a lot in 1989 or 90 when
It's
they
not a
filmed
lot
this?
at all compared to Batman.
No.
Not even remotely. But I mean, it's the most they've ever gotten.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do think that they I don't know. I think they had a lot of camera operators on this film, and they did a good job by keeping the scenes moving. I mean, it wasn't just static shots; like they were actually shots that moved with the action in the film. So, I got to give them credit for that.
Probably their best shot movie, honestly.
Yeah,
Honestly,
might
from
be
what I've seen.
I mean, I think we'll get to that.
Yeah. Maybe
You'll
at some
get to
point.
the
Joke that keeps on giving.
I think we'll get to that.
I'll eventually find their best shot movie. But no, I really do. I think it's their best shot movie. It may be their best written movie also.
Let me ask this: Did they recycle some old monster creature effects from like a Class of Nukem High for this movie, or was this all completely original?
I wouldn't be
Because
surprised.
I feel like the look of the villain Stewart at the end kind of made me think Class of Nukem High.
No, I don't think
It
that
does.
was
It does get no. It gives you that caterpillar with
Yeah.
the spikes coming out of it. It gives you a very Class of Nukem High feel, but I don't think it was recycled. Maybe like the design of it was recycled, but I don't think the
Or maybe
actual
even
effects
like
were.
the props that they used to make that costume.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't think it was a like a B-roll from that film.
Well, I want to look up if they use the same effects artist for all of their films because every film does have that same kind of look,
Like slimy,
that signature. Yes, slimy, grubby.
Are you talking specifically about the end guy? The end
Yeah.
villain, right?
Yeah,
Right,
The
right,
ultimate evil.
I did like how they cocooned him. I thought that was kind
I
of
thought
cool.
that, and when he comes out, he's got the two heads in the hand, and he puts them together to kiss.
Yeah, that was like a really weird design for a creature.
Cool
I
design,
liked
in my
that.
opinion.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said it was really weird, and I think
I'm
it was
just saying
cool.
it was cool.
And that's the manga reference I was kind of talking about. Was like that's
I
what it made me.
agree.
It made me think of Riccio or something.
Yeah, I see that. You compare that to the end guy in Riccio,
Yeah.
that like morphs into some weird fucking puppeteered
Yeah,
creature.
exactly.
No, let me ask you this question: Was Kabukiman the hero that the '90s needed? Because I kind of feel it was.
The 90s needed
Yeah, it was Kabukiman.
over Batman?
Yeah,
The
No.
superhero 90s needed.
yeah.
No, I think we're all right. I think we're good.
I think they were brave in trying to make this a hero.
I agree.
But was it going to catch on? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how they thought this was going to work with kids.
What do you mean?
Like the original concept was this was going to be a superhero movie. It was going to be like towards kids.
But they rape a girl in Central Park.
That was not supposed to be. Like the original cut is PG-13. So the kids, like it was, like I said earlier, it was a big fight on the making of this film. Like Lloyd Kaufman wanted to make a traditional trauma movie.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Hers and the producer wanted to make like something that they can market and sell.
Yeah, they want to go more
basically
commercial.
as a more commercial film. I don't know. Kaufman definitely won. I think in that one.
I think he won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that aspect, and made a.
I don't think I
film.
would have enjoyed this film as much as a PG-13.
Trauma just needs to do what trauma does.
I agree.
Don't get me wrong. I love. I as a kid, I loved Toxic Crusaders.
Great cartoon.
It was a great cartoon. But that was a very different branch off. The fact that I got to give him credit. Like looking back on it now, I got to give him credit for taking those characters that are clearly not kids' characters and then turning them into actual
kids' characters.
Family
characters.
friendly.
Yeah, they were like the fucking Animaniacs for a little bit. If the Animaniacs looked like we're in a pornography movie, like it's nuts.
I think they accomplished a lot more than a lot of independent filmmakers did. I mean,
yeah.
as far as how
Absolutely.
far they took it and how they were able to spin it in that direction. Like, I mean, yeah, Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, like this movie, like they're not kid friendly at all. But
somehow they came across to the general public as kid friendly things, and I think the cartoon had a lot to do with that. Though.
and I think it was the comic book superhero vibe
Yeah.
that really pushed it that way.
Which is another thing too. It's like it's pretty brave for an independent company to go, we're just going to make our own superheroes, and because obviously superhero movies were a trend in the 80s and 90s with Superman, the Donner films, and then you had Batman.
They were also a trend in the 70s, but
not.
But on
Not really.
Not
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah,
what are
they
you
were.
talking about?
No.
they were on TV. There was
Well, he's-
Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he's right.
There was a lot of there was a push during the 70s for Marvel to make those. That was our first real push, was try to make their superheroes like commercial. Didn't work.
Not till later.
Not
But
till
these
later.
These
but
guys were able to make their own superheroes and then be actually somewhat commercially successful also.
Yeah, and they're just so offbeat compared to what we were normally used to. Like a guy who was deformed from toxic waste.
Yeah.
A guy who was basically made out with an old Japanese man and became a kabuki character. Like, I mean, this is like really offbeat compared to like a Spider-Man.
But like, really, who hasn't made out with an old Japanese man?
I don't.
And became a superhero afterwards.
I mean, that never happened to me, but I mean, I won.
Like, if it did, I
got to make out with an old Japanese man, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Eat worms, or just a bunch of sauerkraut.
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about?
What, they eating worms or sauerkraut?
Both.
Well,
everything.
If you realize through the
Was Lost Boys influenced by this film, guys? I think that's a real
Lost
question.
Boys came out before.
Why? Because of the maggots or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
No.
when did Lost Boys come out?
Before 90, it was 80.
You're right.
Like 88 or
Isn't
something?
it weird that I'm still thinking that this fucking movie came out in like 78?
No, it's not weird because
it's true though.
I feel like they used like some really cheap film, like
You're
that
absolutely
made
right.
it that gave it that feel.
A mega more solidly made film like Lost Boys looks so much better than this.
Lost
fucking
Boys
film
is
does.
87.
87.
Oh, so 5 years before this film came out, or 4?
3.
4.
3.
3? 90?
You can do math.
Yeah,
It was
90.
91.
We've said it a bunch of times.
You used to do math.
Chris, we'll get back to that. Chris. Cody, what were we gonna say?
I was going to say, let's rate this Mammer Jammer.
I'm ready.
And I think we should rate it the fan that he had.
Oh, like the
yeah,
hand
yeah.
fan?
The hand fan.
Whatever you call that.
We're going to rate it hand fans.
Yeah.
Thank
Hand
you, Mike, for giving us the term. And let's start with the two most enthusiastic people in here, but we'll start with Kyle first.
Well, I gave Class of Nukem High a 1. Well, I can't exactly say that I enjoyed either film more than the other. I will give an extra point or an extra half a point to this film. And the reason behind that is because, well, I felt like Class of Nukem High was basically a rehashing of a concept and a story that already proved successful for Trauma, which was toxic waste turning somebody into some kind of a mutant thing, blah, 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 whatever toxic waste been done. This was, at least was a like a new concept, and there was more ambition into it. So for that, I'm going to give it a half a point. So I'm going to give this one a 1.5.
1.5 hand fans from Kyle. Huge rating. Huge rating. Next up is Michael Salustio. He's going to give us his 1.5 rating also.
Cody, I just want to say something. I'm going to agree with you on a number of things that you said on this podcast. 1, this is one of the most polished Trauma films I've ever seen. 2, I have to say that this film is far and above probably the best Trauma film I've ever seen. It actually has a plot, which is a plus. It utilizes its $1.5 million budget in a very artistic way. I think you may have changed my mind on Trauma films.
Ooh, this is not going the way I thought it'd go.
I know, you're right.
Good for you.
And for that, I'm going to give this a 1. It really surprised me. It really made me look at Trauma films in a different light. That they can be better than half a star. So thank you very much, Cody. I'm a new man. 1 star.
Chris, you're next.
Sergeant Kabukiman. All right. I had fun with this movie. I mean, I agree that it did kind of start off a little slow, but once I really sat down and just fucking turned everything else off around me and wasn't distracted, I focused on the film. And I do like the jokes. I like the fact that they got a little bit more of a budget for this one. It still had the same Trauma fashion and style to it, with just a little bit more like bigger action, I guess. I won't say it's as memorable as like a Toxic Avenger or even really a Class of Nukem High, but I think everybody did a pretty good job. I'm glad Lloyd Kaufman sort of got his way on this one and kept it in the Troma universe, even though it didn't take place in Tromaville. And there, it had a little bit more going on with the plot and the story and all that stuff. I thought the writing was pretty good. I'm going to give this a 3.5. I like this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know what I gave the other ones, but I would buy this movie and add it to the collection.
I will go next. That's 3.5 ham fans for Chris. I will go next. I will actually give this a 4. I really like this movie a lot. I have a lot of fun with this. It is the most polished Troma film in every aspect, I think, that there is for the films. I think that does hurt it a little bit, actually, for a lot of people who are viewing it, because they're expecting maybe a trashier film than what they get. I like it because it's not as trashy, and it gives you a look at the potential of a filmmaker that Lloyd Kaufman could be if he went a serious route or if he decided to go that route. And I think this film's just fucking hilarious, dude. This film is funny. Some people will get it, some people won't, and that's okay. We all can't be winners.
Is it though?
We all can't be winners, Mike. It depends on your sense of humor and what you like. I look at this as like watching a violent episode, like a really violent episode where they actually show blood and guts of Looney Tunes. That's what I kind of equal Troma films to, is like a dirty, violent version of Looney Tunes. And if you kind of take your brain out and just take it as that and enjoy it for what it is, these films are fun. So I'm going to give it 4. All right, guys, that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us. So we did get another review. I got to give a shout out to, was it Boosh Moose 27? He said, one of the better podcasts out there. He said, the guys are great. They have some good input. The format also works very well. They always talk about some of my favorite films. Always worth a listen. Check them out. Thank you, Boosh Moose 27, for that review. Again, if you guys fill out a review for us, we will give you a shout out. Give us 5 stars. Some people will say he's an angel.
That was generous.
Yeah.
I will say
to call him an angel or to give the review?
Yes.
Yes to everything.
Also, you can follow us on social media on Facebook, Cult Film Review. Just look that up. You can follow us on Instagram at cultfilm_review. Also on Twitter at cultfilm_review. You can follow Kyle at...
You can follow me on... Dude, that threw me off. Good God. You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
And you can follow Chris at...
On Instagram at cultfilm_Chris.
You can follow Mike at Kabukiman.
You can tweet me at Mike Salustio on Twitter.
Oh, he fucking remembered what his handle was.
I almost forgot.
He was getting there.
And you guys can follow me on Instagram at Cult. What am I? Nope. I'm at VHS Collect. That's the fuck I'm at. Well, it's been a nightmare of a show. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. Before we do that, just remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies.